There are other things you can do besides just a running stitch. So let me show you on a separate piece of burlap. You can always take your project, and if you wanted to use beads, for example, to decorate, then I need a knot on my yarn. There's that little pretzel again. I'm going to cut off that tail. I'm going to poke this up. So we're pretending this is the front side. Then you take your bead and put the needle through the hole, and then we go back down. It can be in the same hole, or it can be a hole right next door, and that'll attach a bead to your project. And then you need another knot, so hold the yarn, poke through with your needle, and pull, and then we cut. So now we have a bead attached. If you wanted to do something called cross stitch, got my knot on the end, I can take my yarn and find a good spot to start, poke up until the knot hits, poke down, and then I go over here. So I'm going to make an X. Here, let me try to make sure it's lined up. So this would be a cross stitch. If you wanted to do something called a couching stitch, that one's kind of fun. I can go up and over. I'm going to make a huge stitch here, and down, and then in a different color, it's going to look like you have stitches sewing it together. Take a different color of yarn, thread my needle, and this is huge, and you can see it doesn't stay down, so we can make it more interesting and make it stay down by poke up, go over it, poke down. That makes it more interesting, and it holds the yarn down. And then, like before, hold this, stab through, pull. You could do something called a double cross stitch or a star stitch. So once again, needle is threaded. I have a knot on the end. Pull it through, poke down. And then cross over. So I have a vertical, a horizontal, and then 2 diagonals. Something called a satin stitch is good for filling things in. So for example, I have this fin shape that I want to fill in. So I'm going to start at the end of my shape, pull, my knot is hitting the back, and then go down. And then I'm coming up right next door where I left off, and down. So all of these stitches are going to be right beside each other. I'm trying not to pull it too tight, because if I do, my project might start bunching up on me. You can also make a zigzag stitch by throwing in a little bit of back stitch. So I'm going to poke up, make sure the knot hits, go down. But I don't want to skip and go next door because I want the zigzag to touch. So I'm going to go down here next and through the same hole at my point and repeat. It's called a back stitch because you end up going backwards. And last but not least, at least the last one I'm teaching you, is one called the flower stitch. So I take my yarn and pull up. I'm going to hold it down and then go down again. Not in the exact same hole. And it leaves this little loop. Then take my needle and stab close to the top and down. And this will hold it down. And if I keep going around and around, it'll end up looking like a flower. And don't feel that you have to do all of these stitches. I want you to learn the running stitch first, and then if you want to learn one other kind, that's fine. Those of you who have more experience with a needle and thread can try to get a little fancier with some of your work.